Hi, welcome back to my story time with Nana. I have a great story for you. Last week they went panning for gold, and then Grandad came out with another surprise for them. And this time it's going to be all of the children. I am so excited. I can't wait to begin. Let's begin. A pirate's treasure. Emma and Tony spent the morning trying to stay busy. They were so excited for Granddad's adventure. They could barely wait. Granddad had been gone most of the morning, and all he would say when he got back was that he had been preparing for the day's adventure. Tony and Emma couldn't wait. What was the surprise? They decided to have lunch in the tree house, and Grandma loaded a picnic basket and tied it to the rope. "Lunch is served," she called out up to the children. Emma pulled the basket up, and Tony brought it onto the deck and untied the rope. Grandma had containers of leftover ziti, 2 blackberry muffins, and 2 mason jars filled with ice-cold milk. It was delicious. "Hi, Emma. Hi, Tony," called out Lachlan from the bottom of the tree. "Hi, Lachlan. Wait there. We're coming down," yelled down Tony. By the time Tony and Emma had lowered their lunch basket and climbed down the treehouse ladder, all their friends were waiting on them. "Hello, everyone," said Grandad. "I see that you made it today. Nice to see you, Mr. and Mrs. Edmund." "Thank you for the invite," said Mr. Edmund. "The children have been very excited about this surprise adventure." "Well, you're very welcome," said Grandad. "Excuse me, Mr. Faison, what are we doing today?" asked Grayson. "Well, Brennan and Maddie are going to stay here with their moms," Grandad said. "I filled up a little kiddie pool for them so they could go for a swim." "How about us, Mr. Faison?" asked Ethan. "Are we going swimming?" "No, not today. I have bigger and better plans for you," Grandad answered. "First, I have something for each of you." He handed each child a little fabric cup on a string. "What is this?" asked Lola. "Is it a slingshot?" asked Chase. "No, it's not a slingshot," Grandad answered. "Any other guesses?" "I know what it is! I know what it is!" yelled out Tony. "It's an eye patch, like a pirate." "An eye patch? Why would we need an eye patch?" asked Emily. "I know," called out Della. "We're going to be pirates." "Are we going out on the boat?" asked William. "Can we all fit on the boat?" "No," said Grandad. "We all wouldn't fit on the boat." "Are we going on a treasure hunt?" asked Claire. "A real treasure hunt?" "That's exactly what we're doing," said Grandad. "Yay!" cried out all of the children. Even baby Brennan and baby Maddie called out yay too. "Of course, we have some rules," Grandad said, "and let's get those out of the way. We're going into the woods, and even though we're all working on this together, I need to make sure that you are all safe. So you each get a whistle." He held out a bucket, and each child selected a whistle on a string. "Just in case we get separated," said Grandad. Grandad and Mr. Crabapple and Mr. Kingston helped the children put on their whistles. "Okay, give 'em a blow," said Grandad. "Let's make sure they work." And they did work. The sound of 11 whistles blowing at the same time is very, very loud. "Now, I want you all to have a chance to hold the treasure map," said Grandad. "Treasure map?" said Emma. "A real treasure map?" "Sure it is. It's real. Look." And then he pulled out the treasure map and held it up for all the children to see. "Can I hold it first?" asked Tony. "Hold up. Each of you has a whistle," said Grandad, "and on the side of the whistle is a number. And while we're walking through the woods looking for the treasure, I will call out a number. And when I do, that person gets to come forward and hold the map and help find the treasure. Each of you will get to hold the map for 50 feet. 50 feet, said Lachlan. That's a pretty long time. Where are we going? Asked Ella. Who gets to hold the map first? Well, first, we cannot have a true pirate's treasure without pirates. Everyone, put on your eye patch. The children quickly slipped on their eye patches and instantly became pirates. Now we can have a real quest, Grandad said. Number one. Who has the number one on their whistle? I do, exclaimed William. I get to go first. He walked over to Grandad and Grandad handed over the treasure map. All of the children surrounded William to get a good look at the map. There were lots of oohs and ahs. Hey, William, go ahead, lead the way. Well, Mr. Facing, can you show me how to hold it so I know which way to go? William asked him. Sure. See the cabin on the map? Grandad said. That's our cabin. Right now, it's behind us. See where it says start right here on the map? Grandad pointed to the map. That's where we are right now. All of the pirates have to follow along the path shown on the map. See the dashes on the map? Where does the map show to go? That way, yelled out William, that way. He was pointing towards the woods. William led the way and all the children followed toward the woods, along with Mr. Kingston, Mr. Crabapple, and Grandad. And William carefully counted out his steps and ended at a big oak tree. Look, he cried out, pointing at the base of the oak tree. I think we found the treasure. That can't be the treasure, said Tony. We just got started, and the X on the map is pretty far from here. Well, what is it? It's a box, said Grayson. William, you found it, so you get to open the box, Grandad told him. And William knelt beside the box and unlatched the front. Wow, he yelled out. It's parrots, not real ones, but, stuffed ones. And he held up the parrots. And he showed everybody. Wow! And the children exclaimed, and William handed each of the children a parrot where they promptly clipped it onto their shoulder. Now they really look like pirates. Number two, cried out Grandad. Yes, called out Chase, I get the map next. And William handed the map over to Chase and they followed the path the next 50 feet. There was a bench in the wood, and that is right where Chase's 50 feet ended. What are those? I don't know, answered Chase. They look like purses. Purses? Those are satchels, said Mr. Crabapple. What's a satchel? Asked Ethan. It's what pirates use to carry their loot, he answered. Looks like everyone gets a satchel, said Mr. Kingston, as Chase handed them out to each child. Number three, called out Grandad. It's me, I'm number 3, called out Emma. Chase handed Emma the map and she thanked him, and they continued on their quest. Emma's 50 feet led to a rose bush, and below the bush was a basket with different colored pieces of fabric. What is it, Emma? Asked Emily. I don't know. They look like squares of cloth, she answered. Emma handed everyone a piece of fabric. What do you think it's for? Watch this, Grandad said as he began to fold the fabric into a triangle. He placed it on Emma's head, and soon she had a pirate's bandana. Mr. Kingston and Mr. Crabapple helped the children all have pirate bandanas on their heads. Now they really look like pirates. Number four. Who has number 4? Called out Grandad. I do. I have number 4, called out Della. I get to hold the map now. Emma handed over the map, and everyone began to follow Della. And her 50 feet ended at a fallen tree. I don't see anything, she said. Look a little harder, said Grandad. And Della squinted her eyes and looked real hard, and then she saw them. Look, they're giant rings on the branches. What kind of rings are those? Asked Claire. I don't know, answered Della. They're just wooden rings. She handed each child a ring, and into the satchel it went. Okay, who has number 5? Number 5, asked Grandad. I have number 5, said Grayson. See, he was holding up his whistle with the number 5 on the side. Here you go, Grayson, Della said, handing him the pirate's map. The arrows on the map took a slight turn, and Grayson led the way. It's this way, he said over his shoulder. His 50 feet brought the children to a small bridge that crossed over the creek, and at the base of the bridge was a round box. What's in the box? Asked Ethan. I don't know, answered Grayson. It feels empty, he said, lifting the box up. And then Grayson opened the box and pulled out a little baggie filled with colored feathers. All of the children started laughing while Grayson handed out very light baggies filled with feathers. And again the feathers were added to the satchel. Number 6, I'm calling number 6, Grandad called out. 6, that's me, yelled Lachlan, and he ran forward and Grayson handed over the map. This is so much fun, Mr. Faison. Thank you, thank you. You're welcome, Lachlan. Where to next? We have to cross the bridge, Lachlan called out to the children, and then began counting out his 50 steps. And his last step brought the children to a tiny pond, and in the middle of the pond a life jacket was floating, and it was tied to a rope. Hey, that's my life jacket, said Tony. Lachlan pulled the rope and the life jacket came to him. My jacket can't be the prize, said Tony. Look in the pockets, Grandad said to Lachlan. And Lachlan opened the pockets and pulled out little baggies filled with beads. They're beads, Lachlan said as he handed each child a little bag filled with beads to put in their satchel. What do you think all of these things mean? Asked Ethan. I don't know, said Emma. They don't seem to go together. Number 7. Who has number 7? Called out Grandad. I do. I have number 7, Grandad, Tony cried out. Lachlan handed Tony the map and he started counting out his 50 steps. And his turn ended at a huge tree. But Tony didn't see anything. Look at the map, Tony, his grandfather told him. It shows a tree with the word look pointing to a hole, said Tony. There's a hole back here, cried out Chase. It's a big hole. Tony ran around the tree and put his hand in the hole and pulled out a brown paper bag. What's inside? Asked William. Tony looked inside the bag. Then he reached inside the hole again and pulled out another brown bag and another brown bag and another bag until he had enough bags for everyone. I think everyone's gonna really like this pirate's treasure. And everyone did like the treasure because it was cookies, chocolate chip cookies. The children sat at the base of the tree and ate their cookies. Those did not go in the satchel. Number 8, called out Grandad after the children had eaten their cookies. I have number 8, yelled Emily, and Tony handed Emily the map and she counted out her 50 steps, which led to a stop sign. They were at the covered bridge, and at the foot of the stop sign was a cooler. Emily opened the cooler and it was full of juice boxes, and there was a note on the inside of the lid that said, Cookies make you thirsty. Yes, they do, said Emily as she handed everyone a juice box, and the juice boxes did not go in the satchels either. Number 9, called out Grandad. I have number 9, yelled Lola. Look, number 9. She held out her whistle. Emily gave the map to Lola and led the way with Grandad as they crossed the street and the bike path and entered the woods. Lola's 50 feet brought them to a huge pine tree. There were little bottles of paint lined up all the way around the tree. Look, it's paint! Each child selected a color and put them in their satchel. By this time, the satchels were getting pretty full. Okay, who has number 10? Asked Grandad. I have it, called out Claire. And Lola handed the pirate's map to Claire, and she led the way. This way, she said, pointing deeper into the woods. And her 50 feet brought the children to a row of raspberry bushes. And the children all began picking raspberries and plopping them into their mouths. Hey, look at this, said Claire. She was pointing to a spool of thread. There were spools all over the bushes, enough for each of the children. Oh, said Claire, I thought the berries were the prize. I guess it's the string. And into the satchels they went. And finally, who has number 11? I do, answered Ethan. I have the last number. And Claire handed the pirate's map over to Ethan. Well, lead the way, Ethan, Grandad told him, and Ethan started walking, and that's when the children noticed the old fireplace standing alone in the woods, and they all began running. That had to be where the pirate's treasure was hiding. There was a big X chalked right on the front of the fireplace. There's something inside the fireplace, Ethan cried out. I think it's bags of gold. He pulled out a little burlap bag. It was tied with twine and handed each one to the children. They all began opening their bags, and sure enough, they were filled with gold. Is it real gold? Asked Tony, and he poured out his onto the ground. 10 pieces of gold. And from behind him he heard, It's chocolate! It was Emma. Open it up! The gold is chocolate! And the children pulled the foil paper off to reveal that their gold pieces were really pieces of chocolate. The best treasure of all. Okay, children, it's time to head back, said Grandad, but we'll take a shortcut. The children noticed that they were on the other side of the creek where they had panned for gold the other day. There were rocks sticking out of the water, and Grandad and Mr. Kingston and Mr. Crabapple helped the children cross. There was a little girl standing on the bank on the other side, watching them as they crossed. Hi, she said. Hello, said Tony. What's your name? Cat, she answered. What are you doing in the woods? Are you real pirates? We are on a treasure hunt, Tony told her. We're being pirates. Huh. Is your name Cat like a kitty cat? Asked Emma. No, she said. It's Cat, short for Catalea Bella. Well, that's a pretty name, said Emma. It's nice to meet you. Hey, do you want to come over to our cabin and play? I'll have to ask my mommy first, she answered, but I can walk with you to the playground. So all the children, Grandad, Mr. Crabapple, and Mr. Kingston walked to the playground. Mommy, Mommy, I met some people at the creek, yelled out Cat, running to her mother. Cat's mother was tending to 2 babies in the sandbox. Hello, she said. Hello, answered Grandad. We're heading back to our cabin, and Emma has invited Cat to come play. You're more than welcome to come along. Well, thank you, she said. Maybe tomorrow. I was just getting ready to take the babies home for a nap. Well, I can see to it that she gets home safely, said Mr. Kingston. You're staying in the cabin right next door to ours. Why, thank you. Cat, do you think you can behave? I do. Well, then go ahead and have a good time. Well, Grandad said, let's get back to the cabin. We have one more thing to do. Another surprise? Asked Emma. Yep, answered Grandad. And yay! All the children started yelling out. They were so excited. This Grandad, he has so many surprises. He's pretty interesting. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's story. I can't wait for next week. It's going to be even better than this week. I know I say that every time. Don't forget to share my stories. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Mwah.